Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching Q&A with Z&J.
And so this is where we answer your questions that you've previously asked on Patreon at the $4 level and above. Sorry. And it's uncut, so when I make mistakes like that, you get them.
Yeah.
And okay, so one earbud.
One ear, I think, is the way I'm going to go.
We're experimenting over here. You may notice we have two mice on the table. There's one there. One here. We both are controlling the same mice. Cursor with one mouse. All right. So
that'll get interesting.
We got 30 seconds on the clock.
30 minutes.
30 minutes on the sorry. Starting now.
All right. Carl says, looking back on your 5 years of doing Now You Know for each of you, what's the one takeaway you value most and what would you have done differently and why? I can instantly answer the first question, which is I'm so glad that you and I get to work together every day because I know that a lot of fathers and sons, it's like Harry Chapin, the song Cats in the Cradle.
Oh, right.
And they just don't have time for each other.
We still don't have time to play catch, but
that's true.
We at least we're together.
But, yeah.
For me, that's a good question. I don't want to waste time thinking of a good answer. Unfortunately.
Whatever comes to mind.
What would we have done differently? We would have gotten out of the car sooner.
Yeah.
Recording Tesla Time.
I would have gotten the studio up and running sooner had I known how easy it is to sit down. And we literally sat down like a minute ago and started recording.
Right. Yeah. Skip the Chromebook. Right. Gone straight to, but I mean, you all make this possible. So I would have started Patreon sooner, I think, too.
Yeah. Jay says, give me your percentage of the chance that Tesla will make lunar rover vehicles. I remember hearing about a pressurized Cybertruck for the moon and Mars. Is that a real thing?
Not yet.
Well, it's not a real thing yet, but I mean, if you saw Elon's recent speech, recent talk to that German station, Der Spiegel, was it? He said he's going to go into orbit in the next 2 or 3 years. Like, he's serious about space travel. So I think that as soon as they actually get a base up on Mars, or Moon, actually, I think Moon will be first.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised at all if Tesla had some kind of Cybertruck vehicle driving around.
I mean, keep in mind that the Moon rover was developed by GM back in the 60s and 70s. So, it's not. It's. I don't want to say it's not that hard. Especially doing a pressurized one, I think that would be pretty hard. I think you change the design.
Sure.
But
you make it lighter, I think.
Yeah.
John Glenn says, will Elon put up a Starlink sat system in Mars orbit for interplanetary comms? Is the Earth Starlink a iteration for other planet usage? I think you nailed it.
Yep, that's probably the idea.
Yep.
Roger says, what company do you think has the best chance of keeping up with Tesla? It's evident now that there will be no Tesla killer.
Yeah, isn't that? It's so true. It would have to be a company that innovates like crazy. I don't see an obvious one, to be honest, but it could be that somebody like Google finally... I don't even want to say their name. That's not true. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I think... Yeah, it's either going to be a new upstart or, I mean, the implication here, I think, with the question is that it's a manufacturer that currently exists.
Yeah, I just don't know that any of them have gotten it yet. Like, I can think of a lot of companies that could start to pivot and do it, but none of them are pivoting. So I don't know.
Everyone likes to point to VW. I just don't think that they have the corporate thing. Like, as we've just heard with, Deese getting in hot water from the...
from the old money,
the
guard
of the company. The rank and file VWites.
Nope.
I
don't see the player yet.
Maybe.
I'm sure they're out there, but I just don't see them yet. You could say Rivian, but I just don't know if they, because they're so invested in by Ford and Amazon, I just don't know that they actually get it as much as you hope they do.
Well, and they're starting at a huge disadvantage. I mean, every company that isn't Tesla starting at a huge advantage. Right. I mean, because like part of me is like, oh, I kind of like how Hyundai has done some of their EVs, but and I mean they have a pretty decent EV market share, but it just it's nowhere near.
You're looking for a leader who actually says he gets it, and so far I haven't seen that. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Valka says, why do you think Tesla has so many different door handles? So far, only the 3 and the Y use the same door handles.
They were going through some different design stuff. Like the Model S's door handles are super kind of weird to a certain extent.
Yeah, I can kind of walk you through that. I think the S was, this presenting door handle, but they really
and for aerodynamics as well.
Right, they wanted it flush, but they wanted presenting, but they found out that that's a lot of extra cost, and they failed a lot. So then going to the X, where it's flush, but you push it, then going to the 3 and the Y, where it's this kind of they wanted to reduce costs, I think, and make it more of a physical thing, and so it's all been cost, I think, to get to simpler and simpler and lower cost.
Right, while still maintaining a flat
Flush.
door handle, which I think is
right,
just a nice design.
Yeah,
as well as aerodynamics.
Graham says, if you were able to arrange an interview with Elon, what would be your first question, Tesla, SpaceX, or anything else? That's a great question. I've thought about it a lot. I would want to have an interview with him where I quickly tried to get him from not having to give his rote answers. So I don't know that my first question would be anything like, so in Q3, well, I think it would be more talking about his childhood, talking about when in his, like, I'm really interested in these formative years of like when he went to Canada and he was crawling through pipes to clean them out. What did all those experiences give him that probably give him an advantage over current CEOs that have never really gotten their hands dirty? So right. It's things like that.
Yeah. I would ask him, he just sold PayPal, and he's sitting on a ton of money, and that's more than enough to retire on and to have your family be set for a good long time. What made him want to reinvest it in such wild and crazy things? And like, really, I mean, it does get back to the childhood question. Was it something that he read? Was it something that he watched? Was it something that he had been thinking about? Or was it someone that he had talked to? I want to figure out like what made him get to that conclusion, and if it's repeatable with other people.
I would also love to get Elon in a room with either Kimball or his mom or his sister Tosca, so that you could get him in a slightly different frame of mind, maybe, because I've noticed that when he's alone, he can sometimes just get too focused on something, whereas I think when he's with other people he feels comfortable with, he's much more approachable. So
yeah.
Max says, which company do you think will be the leader in the electric bus market in the US, at least the next 5 to 10 years? So we're just about to, there's an episode, by the time you see this, it'll probably be out, an in-depth where we're talking about a bunch of companies, including Lion Electric, including Green Power Motor. We own stock in a bunch of these. I think, I don't know which one it'll be, but I think that Green Power Motor could be one of them.
It's either going to be, I think, BYD or Proterra.
It could be. Yeah.
I mean, the sucky part is that you can't really invest in some of these. I think you can invest in BYD, which we talked about last week, or weeks ago. But you can't invest in Proterra.
Right. There's so many buses.
Or it's going to be a completely different company, or it's going to be Tesla. Like 5 to 10 years is a pretty long.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be one of those players that we just mentioned.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Aiden says, do you think that Tesla will be bringing vinyl wraps to the U.S.? I know that they're already available in China, so I think the Cybertruck launch event, if it is hosted, would be a good time to debut them in the U.S.
No.
I don't. I think it's a Chinese only thing.
It's a total Chinese only thing. It really appeals well to the Chinese culture, and there are. I just think that there are more wrap places in the U.S. Like people who get wraps are people who get wraps and they know where to get the wraps, and most people it might happen at some point, but I don't think it's going to happen at the Cybertruck unveiling, and I don't think that Elon, like, everyone thinks that, like, oh, I'm going to wrap the Cybertruck. Elon does not think about wrapping the Cybertruck. The Cybertruck to him is stainless steel, and that is the only way that it's the Henry Ford quote of, like, they can have any color they want so long as it's black. He's like, they can have any color Cybertruck they want so long as it's stainless steel.
Right. Harkins Aquatic says, electrification of what type of public vehicles will have the biggest impact on city, county, and states, i.e. trash trucks, snow plows, fire trucks? Great question.
That is a good question.
I think school buses or municipal buses would probably be my first choice, because there are just so many of them and they affect so many people's lives. And not only, when you're sitting on the bus, but also waiting for the bus, like all those emissions, like we talked about with the school kids, waiting for the bus and just breathing in diesel fumes. And also, I don't know, you were on a bus. I was on a bus. Do you remember how loud it is in the
Always
bus?
loud. Yep.
So I think just making it a more enjoyable thing. So those would be my first two choices, I think.
Yeah. But I mean, I would actually, and this is not an answer to your question because it's not a public vehicle. Dump trucks. I mean, they are so loud, so loud. And every time and semi trucks to a certain extent, you know, when they're going across an intersection where you're actually like on the corner of the intersection and it's just deafening.
And the other aspect to that is the braking. When a truck brakes, you may not think about it because it only happens in limited cases, but if you live across the street from a stop sign or stoplight where people brake, that's really loud. But with electric, they're going to be using their regenerative braking more, so it's going to be a lot quieter.
Yeah, and highways, I live right next to a highway, and Jake brakes suck.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
They are the worst.
Yeah. This question from Nick: Cybertruck quad motor after a few years of development, successful launch.
Yeah, I
Okay,
oddly think yes.
Yeah, because Elon's talked about these minor improvements. I think that he probably does want to be able to do what Rivian's going to be able to do, which is the tank turn. And also Workhorse is going to have the 4 motors. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe you're right. Maybe if they will offer that. But I don't know if that's right off the bat.
I don't know if he cares enough to do tank turns. I think, you know, it's cool because it's like a gimmick. And Tesla's no, you know, slouch when it comes to gimmicks. But I think that with the Cybertruck, he cares more about the 0 to 60 time because let's face it, unless you're in the middle of the woods and suddenly realize that you need to turn around, you're not going to use tank turns as opposed to at a stoplight. What
movie do you think will be the first movie to feature a tank turning Cybertruck? Because I think it'll be a zombie movie.
Oh, tank turning Cybertruck.
Yeah.
What about just Cybertruck? I don't think zombie movies are in anymore. So I'm sorry to burst your bubble there. I know that you're stuck in 2014, but
they're coming back. They're going to come back.
No.
Kenny says, will there be a supply issue in 2023 for lithium or graphite? If so, what range could battery grade lithium and coated spherical graphite go for a ton?
I'm not qualified enough to answer that question.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Yeah. But we are going to be talking, hopefully, to some people who are qualified.
Yes.
So, Thorsten says, since you early recommended FEV, which I'm very grateful for, do you have another interesting early investment opportunity on the horizon? What do you think about Grand West Transportation?
I haven't looked into that one.
I have not heard of them. You should head over, if you're not already a member of the Now You Know Investor Club, you should head over there, post that question on the club.
Yeah.
I'm on there all the time, pretty much every day, posting things, reading things. And it's not about keeping secrets from you guys, but here's the thing. If I come across a company that I think is cool, I don't want you to be like, he thinks it's cool, buy it. Because there's a whole bunch of factors that go into an investment, right? And you can't, the price is a big one.
And how long you're intending to hold it. There's a bunch of things. So we don't want to be Jim Cramer up here going like, buy. You know, we're not.
Do we have that here, by the way?
We don't have buy. We can do.
We can do laughing.
That's good. So yeah, I mean, it's
more nuanced than that.
It's more nuanced,
but what we've been trying to do, for instance, in these last couple episodes of In Depth, is show you a lot of these new companies that are out there, and we do tell you which ones we're invested in to give you some sense.
Right.
But yeah, it's harder than that. If it was easy to invest, everyone would make money. I just learned an interesting stat, which is that 85% of people who invest in the stock market lose money.
And that's an insane stat because the stock market typically goes up.
And I know why now that I've been watching the Investor Club more and more. I can see that a lot of you have the wrong mentality about investing. But anyway, we'll get into that on the Investor Club. Barbara says, have you gotten Ernie to drive any of your Tesla cars? I was curious if Butts and Seats has worked on him. Yes. So I went for a 6-day road trip with my father. Was it 2 years ago? Summer of 2018. Jesse had to take over for a week or so on the channel. And it took the whole 6 days to get my dad converted. The first day he was like, you know, because we'd take shifts and I would say like, throw it into autopilot. And he'd be like, dung, 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 dung. And I was like, Dad, come on. But by the 6th day, he was sold. And it took 6 days for him. So yeah, converted him in 6 days. Luckily, the trip took 6 days. Oh, and by the way, Barbara, my dad has a new book out. So you can find it on Amazon. It's really good. Tony says, I want to add a hidden compartment to my Cybertruck that will hold rubber inner tubes that are connected to the compressor. That way I can drive into a river or the ocean, hit a button on the air compressor, and it'll inflate the inner tube and the Cybertruck becomes a cyber raft. A little hydrojet in the hidden compartment for propulsion on the water would also be great. Do you think we can convince Tesla to make this an option? If not, do you already know an aftermarket Tesla accessory company that would be up to the task of creating and installing this kit? Well, I know the one guy who said he would do it for us is Sandy Munro. So you can call him.
I don't think that most other aftermarket places are going to be making this kind of product because
it's a great idea, though.
It's a cool. I think that if anyone was going to do it, it would be Tesla. I think that. Lots of people have been like, it's so obvious. They had the submersible Lotus Elise from James Bond, so it's clearly going to be a submarine. And I think, Cybertruck, I think it could be a submarine. Smart to make it out of stainless steel. There are some design considerations when you're designing a submersible or any watercraft.
But these are the opportunities we talk about. Like, if it is true that it will be submersible, then yes, a aftermarket company should come out with some of these cool add-ons. But
even if it's not, I think that there could be a company that would come into the fold that could do it. They would just have to be focused on that. I don't think that they would also be selling cup holder stuff.
And the other question is, how useful would this be, a submersible car?
Or a boat car.
Or a boat car.
You can skip some traffic getting across the river.
Ken Ash says, how is it possible to include full self-driving in the soon-to-come $25,000 Tesla, given that full self-driving is now $11,000? I'm fairly sure I heard Elon say that the $25,000 car will include full self-driving. So what did he mean by include? Did he mean that basically it's in there, but you have to turn it on? Did he mean that when the full self-driving network is up and running, that car would run on the network, but then when you took it over that night as your private vehicle, you wouldn't have full self-driving unless you paid for it?
Or would it mean that it has the full self-driving hardware included, like every Tesla vehicle that they currently sell?
Right. So I think that's what he meant. Mm-hmm. And I also think that this is really hard for all of us to picture. What does the Tesla network look like? How much does it cost? So I think he was just driving at the fact that the car itself, with the hardware, he'd be able to make for $25,000 and get that to the customer. Mm-hmm. Matt says, do you guys have an optimistic view of the future of humanity or a more pessimistic view? Well, that's a great question.
I'm constantly flip-flopping between two extremes. I'm hardly ever in the middle. I generally, when I start to think about it, tend towards the middle, but it's usually either like, this is great, we're going to be on Mars, and then we're going to go to other planets, and then we're going to hopefully, expand into the universe. And then another part of me is just like, oh, I guess we could just blow ourselves up in a moment.
If you took Elon out of the equation of the planet right now, I would be so pessimistic. I've been pessimistic most of my life. Yeah. Like, I've been working on things for the environment stuff most of my life. It's only when Elon came along and I realized his vision that I began to be optimistic. So I guess I would say I'm generally pessimistic, but it is fun to have Elon who is making things more enjoyable, if that makes any sense. What's next? We need their name.
Oh, we need their name.
If you're going to be in charge of the mouse.
I'm sorry.
Luke says, which other companies aside from Tesla do you anticipate tremendous growth from in 4 to 5 years, i.e. long-term investing to explore? So first of all, I don't think 4 to 5 years is long-term for investments, I'll be honest. If you think of something like, we've made tremendous profit off of, say, Tesla stock in 4 to 5 years, but
there was a lot of legwork
going
on at Tesla.
If you'd invested in Tesla when they first started and waited 5 years and then got out, you would have missed most of it. Right. So I think 10 years is a realistic time frame for if you really want to get the long term out of a company that you think has the right vision.
And I think that a lot of companies are going to be starting now or soon or already have started and are in stealth mode that are going to be kind of having a leg up over some of the other competition.
And this is exactly what we talk about in the Investor Club. Yeah. I hate to keep saying it, but like that's what we focus on there. Yeah. So I would head over there and post these questions in Slack because they're great questions.
Yep.
Harlequin says, given that I'm from Australia, do you think that there is any chance of Tesla building a gigafactory here, or maybe just a battery plant? We have bucket loads of raw materials here. In my opinion, it would be far more cost effective to mine and refine and build batteries here in Australia than either ship the batteries out or build another gigafactory. Well, you don't have to sell me, dude. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It probably makes sense at some point to have about a full factory there.
Yep.
But keep in mind that your population density is kind of low. So
gotta get those gotta get
you
that
gotta
population
get more people.
Those are rookie numbers. No, but I agree. I think because you'd be able to serve kind of a greater region. The proximity to China means that maybe Tesla just kind of says, oh, forget it. We'll just. But I think Australia is a great place for. I would say go for it because I mean you got the solar power right there. You got again.
Do you have cheap enough labor? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it.
I think it'd be a good market. I think if Tesla could get into the Australian
but to be honest, like if you're asking for my opinion,
market,
I don't think it'll be one of their first 10 gigafactories. I think they're probably going to do a bunch more in China, one in India, probably one in Africa before they get to Australia. I could be wrong, but
and they'll just service Australia with
China.
Yeah,
would be my guess.
And I mean most of the cost, honestly, for Teslas in Australia is like imports and all of that stuff. So.
AGM3ME says, hello, Zach and Jesse. I would like to know how Galileo from Hyperchange is able to invest in SpaceX. Thank you. So he set up an LLC, basically a company, and then has some friends who, when there's a round that's doing an investment round, allow in some companies. And basically they just tack him on to a bunch of other investors that are going in. So A, you need a friend, which he has, and B, you need an LLC. And you need to put enough money in to make it attractive enough because to set up the LLC and do all that costs, thousands of dollars. So if you're going to invest, say $5,000, but it costs you $5,000 to set up the LLC, probably maybe not worth doing. But
if you expect it to
true
100x, then
well, and here's the thing. Don't forget, Elon said he's going to allow us into Starlink, not SpaceX, into Starlink, which I gotta actually, from a financial point of view, is probably going to be worth the same, if not more, than SpaceX. So
in the beginning, but pretty soon he's going to turn himself into the Space Guild, and he's going to be in charge of all. He's going to be in charge of pretty much all the rockets going between Mars and Earth. That's basically, that would be like if you're like, I'm just a businessman who's in charge of all of the shipping between North America and the rest of the world. It's just like, what?
But back to your question, if you really seriously want to do it, find out one of the venture capital firms that's in on the SpaceX rounds, contact them, and see if they will allow you to set up your own LLC. Because it's just cash. If they want more cash, they might take it.
Interesting.
Jim says, do you think Tesla will become a de facto monopoly auto and shared transportation supplier in the U.S.? And if so, do you think Elon and people on Tesla's board, like Larry Ellison, will be able to resist taking unfair advantage of their ensuing power? It's instructive to think about an early disruptive transformation of transportation. The Transcontinental Railroad, built by the Big Four, Stanford, Crocker, Hopkins, Huntington. Those power brokers smashed through many physical and political barriers to get the railroads built, and the result was huge. But the power they acquired let them set exorbitant prices while squashing anyone who opposed their plans. A story of great benefit to society inexorably tied together with selfish abuses. Is there any way to avoid the same dynamic in this new disruptive transformation? Yes, I think that Elon will become a monopoly, and I think
Tesla will.
Tesla will.
Yeah.
Elon owns most of the company.
Yeah.
And so I think that governments will start to go, hey, you're a monopoly. But keep in mind, Google, Facebook, Amazon, those are also monopolies, and the government pokes at them every now and then, but they haven't really done much so far. So I think instructively look at those companies to see how they are treated. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I don't think Elon fits into the paradigm of most of the big robin bearers that we think of, in the last century. So I don't think he's going to do this to make high prices. But he won't be in charge forever, I guess, right? Is what you're saying. Like the company will continue and Elon will be busy on Mars. So that's a really good point. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I think you're absolutely right about Facebook. Like, look at Facebook and tell me that that's not a monopoly. and tell me that that's not any more problematic, then I mean, you could kind of consider it to be less bad to just have like a full self-driving monopoly, compared to one that's in charge of like distribution of information and lots of other things.
What you have to weigh here is that they bring tremendous value to society, like you pointed out.
Right.
And then there's, an added cost if you could argue that, well, if we had more, robotaxi networks, the price would go down. The question will be, will he gouge? Will he be like, okay, I put Uber out of business, so now I'm going to raise the prices?
Well, if they raise the prices, then, I mean, there is a limit, and that limit is Uber's current prices. It's as low as you can go with human drivers because they do not pay. They're not employees. They're independent contractors, and they don't care if they live or die. We know that. So that's as low as you can get with Uber, which means that it can't be higher than Uber. They can't put Uber out of business and then raise the prices because then Uber just comes back or something like it comes back. So because there is a good alternative, and now some people might go, well, I don't want a human driver. I want the... I'm just saying most people choose fastest or cheapest. So,
yeah,
that's my thought.
Alan says, what do you guys think will drive the next substantial growth in FUV or Arcimoto's stock price? I think it'll be when they get their Department of Energy loan, if they get it. If they get it, then they're going to be able to immediately go into high gear, building out more factories, probably in a new location. And so that'll be their next big driver growth, is my bet.
Yep.
Steve says, do you think that Tesla will build a factory in the UK? So you're going to fight with Australia now, huh? We have been disappointed once due to Brexit, but building semis would make sense because they could be leased all over Europe without having to encounter tariffs. We have some great engineers here, like Sandy Monroe.
Ask Sandy Monroe.
Oh, ask Sandy Monroe. Put in a good word with Elon, please. Yeah, you have the same problem, I think, as Australia in the sense that you're a fairly small market. He's already over in Germany, so he doesn't really need to be there in England.
Yeah.
And you're making it sound like he needs to be there for like a physical reason, which I don't think he does.
There's potential tax-like tax-ish reason, because I have no idea with Brexit. I haven't since the beginning, and I still don't get it. I don't understand it. But that's beside the point. I think that would be one reason why you might want to build a factory there, but I don't think that you'd build semis there. You'd build those in Europe.
Right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wayne says, AJM3E.
This is an answer.
Oh, it's an answer. Okay.
Can't be. We're the answerers.
Brad says, do you think Tesla will utilize full self-driving to deliver their vehicles in the future, or some combination of full self-driving Tesla semi-truck delivering vehicles via car carriers to the Tesla Gallery service centers first for inspection and then using full self-driving, even if they enable it just for the new buyer, deliver the vehicle locally? Okay. Yes, I think I get it. Basically, the question is, will they use it? Yes. They will.
Unless it's like we are going to stop selling cars because since they can full self-drive, why would we deliver a car to you and then have it?
Yeah, really, I would go back to our conjecture, which I really do think is true, even though everyone wants to fight me on it, which is when they get to a certain point, I don't know, 10 years from now.
And it won't be the first day that they turn on full self-driving. Right. It's not. It'll be sometime because they're going to have to build up some
car ownership cash. Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Okay, people, I know it's hard to believe it.
Right.
I know that you don't want to believe it, but it's true. And so at some point, we just won't own a thing called a car anymore. It'll just be a thing that arrives.
Right. There's so many examples of so many places around the world where they don't own cars, and they still manage to live.
And everyone brings up all the examples of why you still have to have one. Well, I live on the top of a mountain. Okay, maybe you'll own your car.
Right. Yeah, I don't like these arguments where I'm like, well, most people are going to do this. And it's like, but I live in a desert 1,000 miles away from any civilization. It's like, okay, well, I wasn't talking about you at all. So yes, you are going to be one of the last people to have a full self-driving car.
Right.
But for the majority of humanity who lives in cities or near cities, I think that it's going to take over. And right now, Uber doesn't touch the near cities market as hardly as much as I think full self-driving can. We've talked about this before.
I don't want to think I'm yelling at you, Brad, because you actually get it.
No, you got. Yeah, I'm just all the dumb comment people, not patrons.
Greg says, I've been on our roof for the past couple of falls, like Rambo with the silicon. Wait, what? With a silicone gun to fix leaks. Could you hazard a guess as to when the Tesla roof will be available in the Republic of Ireland? I'm hoping for 2022. Also, I'd love to send you a nice photo of our Model 3 next to a Model T, which was in Cork the other day. How do I do this? Is there an email address? I don't see it, probably because I just joined or because I'm daft. You're not daft. You can send emails to Zach, Z-A-C, at nowyouknowchannel.com. We'd love to get them.
Yep. Or you can send us a message on Facebook.
Or, Patreon, you can't send pictures, unfortunately. But yeah, those are the two best places. Make sure that you use our code word. If you're on here, you are a patron, so the code word is dragon. So put dragon in the subject title so we know that it's you. And that way you can share those pictures. But so getting back to your question of whether or not by 2022 you'll have solar roof in Ireland. I don't... 2022. Maybe. Kind of doubt it by 2022.
Yeah,
Maybe you'd be able to get it like if you tried really hard.
Right.
But yeah, I doubt Ireland will be on the list by then. Maybe 2023 though.
They have a bit of a slow rollout.
Right.
And that's just in the United States.
And see, the main slow part is the roofers. Like, not that you probably couldn't get boxes of the shingles, but I doubt that you would have the roofers trained in Ireland by that time.
Right. Well, and also they're going to be scaling production with the scaling of installers.
Right.
So they're not going to bother they're not going to like have, we've all these boxes, what do we do with them? They're not going to have that. They're going to be producing as needed.
But I totally feel you because, we're up on our roof sometimes. Yeah. We got a leak like right there. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, 30 minutes is up. You want to keep going or we give it what we promised?
I'm going to just see if I find one that I like.
He's scooching through these right now.
I need the mouse.
Sorry.
We're sharing a cursor here. It's not. You can't be.
There's a lot of good questions, though.
All right. Yeah. Let's take one from Analog Native. Should the compact car for Europe that Elon is thinking about be just a more compact Model 3, a small hatchback, or something unorthodox that is distinctively focused on dealing with small spaces? That's a good question.
It's going to be like a e-Golf.
Yeah, I think that form factor is very popular in
It's
Europe.
whatever. Think about what German designers are going to come up with. That's what it's going to be, because that's what
Tesla German designers.
Tesla German designers. I know.
I think that there could be some. I kind of want there to be some gimmicks, like the Rivian has the gear tunnel. I know that it's not a pickup truck, so it won't have a gear tunnel, but I want some gimmicky.
Could still have a gear tunnel.
Gimmicky things. Like I just want a little bit more, like maybe one of those like pop-up towing hooks, because I know that lots of people use small trailers in Europe. I don't know.
Yeah, I like the pop-up tow hook.
Fun. I mean, either that or like dirt cheap.
Yeah.
One
more question.
Okay.
From Daniel. In your in-depth interview with Dexter CEO Michael Olea, he says, "You don't create the new system by obsessing about the current system." I love that quote. When you look at the upcoming sustainable offerings from Ford, GM, and Fiat, doesn't it seem like that's exactly what they're doing? Yeah. Mic drop, dude. Yeah. That was perfect way to end it. You're absolutely right. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got it. That's it in a nutshell.
Tangent alert.
Uh-oh, he's going off on a tangent.
Speaking of new things, the other day, I was lamenting with my friends about refrigerators because they're dumb. Especially most refrigerators that you get, they're very deep. So you put stuff back there and you're like, oh no, could be meat, could be cake. And so,
I like the George Carlin reference.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And so, we're talking about like, oh, you can get flat ones. You can get, it was 32 degrees outside when we were having this conversation, and the refrigerator's sitting there. It's a box in a heated house in a cold environment. And I just went, that's first of all stupid. Second of all, when I have a house, I want a walk-in refrigerator.
Whoa!
Insulate it to the nines.
Why do you want to be able to walk in?
So it's bigger. So it's and you have shelves on three sides. It's just a little closet, but cold.
I mean, okay. You want to use a lot of space then, and a lot of energy.
I don't know. I just think, and
But what you want is a better way to present the food.
yeah,
Because I've been having this argument with my wife. She wants a new refrigerator too. Our refrigerator works and it's perfectly good, but she's like, it's not enough room. I'm like, there's not enough room because we filled, like you said, it's deep and we filled the back of it with stuff we haven't touched since 2013.
But I'm just saying, imagining a new system, because then once you have a system that you've basically made, so you don't call the refrigerator repairman, you have to take care of it, which I know for most people is like, I don't want to deal with it. But if it could have a couple different things. One would be kind of like a mini split thing where it's on the outside of the house. When it's wintertime, pretty simple. Like it doesn't hardly need to compress anything in order to get cold.
Combine your heating cooling with your refrigerator.
Then
love it.
And then if you have a geothermal, you can have both. So in the summer when it's hot outside, don't turn on the outdoor one. Use the geothermal because it's 52 degrees. When it's lower than 52 degrees, turn on the outside one.
Love it.
Use that to cool. And I don't know. You could have like there's just so many.
I'm going to go tangent on your tangent.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that, yes, I totally agree with how to cool and heat. But when it comes to stuff at the back of the fridge, I've solved your problem. 10 years from now, Tesla's going to come out with a humanoid robot. And all the things that we're talking about right now are going to be different. Because this humanoid robot is going to do so much stuff. It's going to paint your house. It's going to get stuff out of the fridge for you. Yeah. Hey, humanoid robot, while I'm sleeping, redo my fridge.
Yeah. No, it's true. And cook me breakfast in the morning.
And you might be saying, because I expected a humanoid robot when I was 6. Like,
oh, I know.
Where is it? It hasn't happened because a few things. We need the batteries.
Yep, that's true.
We needed good, cheap, small motors. We needed the compute power.
True.
And we needed the perception, the AI and the perception, which is being solved by Tesla right now with self-driving cars. Once we figure that, if you can make a car go safely at 80 miles an hour, you can make a robot walk around and pick things up and put them down.
Right.
So there we go. Yeah.
And then we get into...
You going to go tangent on that? Go for it.
There's the UK show Humans with the sentient AIs. There's what's the other one? Detroit
Almost Human.
Almost Human.
Yeah, because you're right. A couple of years after my, humanoid robot, that's probably the end of us.
But I'm always so on the fence with AI. Part of me is like, well, we should just keep it stupider, so that way it can't rise up against us and become sentient. And then part of me is like, well, we're not too good at doing anything as humans.
True.
Like we're not too good at we're like, oh, well, nuclear waste, and then oops, it fell into the ocean. Whoops. So.
This is going way beyond a Q&A, so I think we got to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next month on a Q&A with Z&J, and I loved all the questions. It got our brains definitely going. Yeah. But we got to, the reason we have to stop is A, we have to eat lunch, and B, we have to go record our next show.
Absolutely.
So, see you next month.
Now you know.